CBS News has learned of an apparent breach of the investigations into Matt Gaetz. An unknown and unauthorized third party has gained access to 24 depositions of witnesses tied to the various probes. CBS News congressional correspondent Nicole Killian is on Capitol Hill for us. Nicole, what more do we know about this leak and whether the House panel will release the Gaetz report?
Well, just to be clear, it appears that this may be separate in terms of this breach, that it was associated more with some type of civil defamation suit, which is separate from the House Ethics Committee investigation, to be clear, but certainly troubling nonetheless. Particularly with all of the scrutiny around the House ethics investigation. We know that the ethics panel will be meeting tomorrow, and the big question is whether or not the members will vote to release this report publicly. We do know from an attorney who represents two women who appeared before the panel. The attorney says that his clients were part of so-called sex parties with Matt Gaetz. So already some information is coming out about what may potentially be in that report or the testimony that was provided to the panel. But certainly in talking to lawmakers writ large, particularly here on the Senate side, many of them feel that this is information that the Senate should have as they consider Matt Gaetz for confirmation for Attorney General, whereas over on the House side, you have others like Speaker Mike Johnson making very clear that he believes at this point Matt Gaetz is a private citizen and that report should stay under wraps.
Nicole, House Democrats have reelected their leadership. What does that say about how they plan to approach Trump's second term?
Yeah, well, just like last week, we had all of the leadership elections for Republicans, both in the House and the Senate. Now it's House Democrats' turn. So this was about reelecting or renominating Hakeem Jeffries for Minority Leader, Pete Aguilar for House Democratic Caucus Chair, and Catherine Clark for Minority Whip. And so, you know, while the leadership may remain the same on the Democratic side in the House, certainly they are potentially looking at taking a different approach going forward. We know House Democrats have been holding listening sessions with members to try to understand and troubleshoot what went wrong in their view as far as the election not going their way, and to try to move past that and look at other strategies and messaging opportunities to try to build the party back going forward.
Also happening on the Hill today, FEMA Director Deanne Criswell is testifying on the agency's hurricane response. What is she being grilled on?
Well, keep in mind this is a hearing that's taking place this afternoon, but we know there's certainly a lot of scrutiny on the part of House Republicans who are concerned about an incident that involved a FEMA worker who was eventually terminated, who refused to go to homes or service homes that had Trump campaign signs. Of course, we know this took part during those storms that battered the Southeast kind of towards the tail end of the election. And so there has been some scrutiny around that particular incident. What happened? We know the FEMA administrator, for her part, is seeking an investigation into the matter. And again, that worker was terminated, but certainly some concerns among lawmakers nonetheless that they want to make sure that the agency is not biased in terms of how they're dealing with storm victims, although by and large, FEMA has tried to cast a wide footprint in those areas that have been impacted and certainly try to stay out of any politicization of the agency in terms of its storm response and how it's handled.
Nicole, before we let you go, we know the Vice President-elect Vance will be bringing some of Trump's cabinet picks to Capitol Hill to meet with Republican senators this week, including Matt Gaetz and Defense Secretary, his pick for nominee Pete Hegseth. What more do we know about that?
Well, certainly this is an attempt, and we see this time and again when it comes to these high-level cabinet nominations, that many of these nominees sometimes will make the rounds on Capitol Hill to meet with lawmakers and to try to win over their support. So I imagine that this is no different, particularly as there is a lot of scrutiny around some of those picks, whether it's Pete Hegseth or Matt Gaetz. I mean, we do know that a number of senators have spoken to Matt Gaetz directly and talk to him with respect to his nomination and confirmation process. But again, this is all part of the process to try to build support in advance of those hearings next year.
Nicole Killian, thank you.